Hello guys. So after posting on TikTok about the new release from RRCC, the announcement made by the Immigration Minister Macmillan talking about the new rule or the new pathway international students, new immigrants, or any other dependents coming to Canada can take advantage of to secure his or her PR. I posted a video on TikTok and on YouTube, and I saw a lot of comments like, how about those coming to Canada with visitors visa? Before that, please, if you've not checked that video, then go check that video. It's a video before this. I posted a video on my TikTok page, so go check that video. It's a new release from RRCC. They released it yesterday, whereby new immigrants in Canada or all those with temporary status in Canada can take advantage of to secure their PR. I'm talking about your permanent residency. Please, please, and please. We don't know when this thing will last. So now that it's released by RRCC, we should all take advantage of it to secure a PR here in Canada. All right. So there were four main requirements, requirements one is supposed to meet before meeting the eligibility to apply for this PR thing. The most important thing is about you working full time as a support worker. So when you say support worker or home care, it's simply about taking care of the people with dementia, people with disability, the elderly people, the kids, or youth, people who need special attention, or people who need special care. You understand? So we normally classify them as caregivers or support workers or direct support workers, home care worker. You understand? So that's my brief definition of someone who works as a caregiver or someone who works as a support worker. So some of the activities include like giving their medication, changing their diapers, preparing their meal and feeding them, seeing them to bed, having fun with them, sending them out for maybe an occasion, church, especially when they know driving. You can even send them to their bank to withdraw money, send them around to breathe the fresh air outside their premises and all that. So there are a lot of activities. I mean, doing the laundry work, you understand? So these are some of the activities people working as a support worker or caregivers do for to their people. Okay, so having said this, RRCC released an information yesterday saying that all people working as a support worker, so far as you have a full-time position, that's number one. When you have a job offer, not necessarily even working as a full-time. If you're working, you're already automatically qualified, or you automatically meet one eligibility. Also, when you applied for the caregiver job or support worker job and you got a full-time, please, not part-time, not casual, they were specific, that full-time home care job. So the moment you get a job, you go for the interview, you pass the interview, and they sign a contract and an agreement with you and all that, you automatically qualify for one eligibility. That's the one requirement. The second one has to be with have recent or relevant work experience. And the relevant work experience has to do with working in the healthcare or the home care institution. You can have that experience. If you're a nurse, then you're automatically qualified. If you're a midwife, you automatically meet this second eligibility because you've been taking care of patients, cases, and all that, and people with disability, people with dementia, elderly people, and all that. So you already have that rudiment. That is when you are a nurse. But if you're not a nurse, but you've worked in any kind of support worker or you volunteered back home, you also have the relevant work experience. Even if you don't have any of this experience, don't forget that the point 4 or the first point I mentioned was talking about you having a full-time position here in Canada as a support worker. So meaning so far as you've been employed as a support worker here in Canada, meaning you have the recent experience because you're going to take care of the elderly people, and that you can use that as an experience you've gathered ever since you entered Canada and started working as a full-time support worker here in Canada. All right, so the third point has to do with having a relevant someone holding or having a relevant Canadian high school diploma. So how do you know that the degree or the certificate or whatever certificate you have back home is equivalent to the Canadian high school diploma? Now, like the way when it comes to the United States, okay, They have something called WES evaluation, WES, where most of the schools, because most of them don't believe in our transcripts or our results, most of them will like WES people to evaluate your transcripts for them to confirm if everything you have meets their standard in your transcript. Yeah. So in Canada too, there are specific organizations that the Canada government or RCC has authorized to evaluate people's transcripts or results or certificates. So if you want to know the degree you hold back home, you see, RCC didn't specify that your degree or your certificate program or your diploma program certificate you have in Ghana or Nigeria or whatever country you are coming from. They didn't specify it should be related to nursing. They didn't specify it should be related to caregiver job. They only said someone who holds an equivalent of a Canadian high school diploma. So the first you have a degree in maybe mathematics, degree in maybe English, degree in maybe agribusiness, agric, nursing, midwife, you all qualify. You get it? So but just that you have to go and check. Like I stated that in my previous video that there are specific organizations that RCC have authorized. So when you go to Google and you type how do I equivalent my degree in Canada, just go to Google and type that. It will lead you to RCC's main official website, whereby RCC will be listing some approved organizations to be evaluating people's degree to check if it meets the Canadian standard. So take advantage of that to see if you meet that requirement. Okay, so that's the requirements or the eligibility number 3. The fourth eligibility happens to be the one having the minimum level 4 based on the Canadian language benchmark. That's the CLB. Those in Europe will call it IELTS. Not specifically IELTS. They didn't mention IELTS. IELTS is different from CLB. So the CLB has to be like they want to test how fluent you are in speaking the English and also English language. Okay, how fluent you are in it and how you can speak, because you'll be taking care of Canadians. And you know the Canadians don't speak Chi. They don't speak English. Ever. They don't speak any of our local language. They only speak English. Some of them do speak French, but not common. So they want to test how fluent you are in speaking in English. And this exam is not that difficult. If you are someone who have completed WASI, you are someone from West African country, if you've completed a WASI and got good grade, maybe you had C in English, automatically you should be able to pass this exam, because it's about how good you are in speaking the English language. You understand? So please, this was something difficult. They shouldn't scare you that hey, I must have to write an exam. Hey, what if I don't pass and all that? No, there are classes, there are tutorial videos on YouTube that you can watch and learn and understand, like how people do learn the IELTS to pass. So you can also do the same thing. So these are the 4 main eligibility or requirements needed for one to qualify for this program. So guys, please let's take advantage of this thing. So the reason why let me go back to my main topic. The reason why those with visitors visa cannot work with this thing, or cannot do this thing, or are not eligible for this job or this PR pathway is that, you remember the first point I mentioned was someone who has been offered a full-time position as a support worker, right? And we all know that as someone visitor's visa, you are not eligible to work directly with the visitor visa status. So meaning that you're going to apply for the home care jobs at Indeed, but you won't be employed, or you will not even get interview request, because you're not eligible to work in Canada. And I can say almost 99.99% of these home care jobs do not give LMIA, unless the factories, like the factories and all that, some of the factories do give LMIA, but home care jobs or home care organizations, I can say 99.9% do not give LMIA. So meaning that automatically those with visitors visa may not, please read my list very, may not be eligible for this full-time home care job thing, unless you are someone with you drew. Right? When I say what you do, I hope a lot of people understand, because any person who eats, or any person who with you do, be like, you be given a work permit, okay? Because this thing is, because even aside visitor visa not being eligible for this thing, even international students having the student status are also not eligible. Why? Because the minister recently announced that international students are limited to work 24 hours per every week. We are not eligible to work full time unless it is scheduled break, maybe it is vacation or holidays. That is where you are illegal to to work full time, or you have the legal right to work full time. But it's not going to be something consistent. And because the organization or the support worker organization knows you are not always available to work that full time, they'll employ you, all right, but they'll give you the part-time or casual position. They will not give you the full-time position because they know you will not be available from Monday to Friday to work, because you will also be attending classes. So they mostly give the full-time position to those who are having their PR, or those who are here with the work permit. And many ways of securing the work permit is by coming to Canada through the dependent thing, like coming to pay a visit to your husband through the spousal open work permit, or coming to Canada through the spousal open work permit, or coming to Canada when you draw work permit. Then you use that work permit to apply for the home care job thing. So it is people with work permit that are mostly recommended to use this PR pathway. You understand? So please, let's not forget that if you're an international student and you meet the recent announcement RRCC made about those who can bring their partners to Canada to the spousal open work permit route, please don't hesitate to bring your partner to Canada when you meet the eligibility. Let's say you're a master's student, automatically qualify to bring your husband or wife to Canada through the spousal open work permit route. That's what I use for Candy, and that's why she's currently with me here, and she's here with the work permit. So with this PR pathway I mentioned, like, she qualifies. You understand? Or we all qualify to apply for it. That's why I'm also making announcements for people to also take advantage of it. Yeah. So one of the easiest ways through the spousal work permit thing. And recent times too was when RRCC now announced that only master students, those with PhD, or let's say graduate students, are allowed to bring their wife and partners. And if you are undergraduate, the only courses you can read that can enable you to bring your wife or husband or children, or your wife and husband through the spousal open work permit thing, is by reading BSc nursing, B.Ed education, pharmacy, engineering, or law. These are the major major courses or programs that makes one eligible to bring his or her partner to Canada. Aside these programs, you must be a graduate student before you can bring your partner to the spousal open work permit route. Please, if you meet this eligibility, don't apply for visit visa for your partner. Apply for spousal open work permit. With that, your wife or your husband will be given a working permit that will enable him to work full time here in Canada, and that person can work as a support worker, which will enable him or her to qualify for this new PR route. You understand? But if you are an undergraduate and still want to invite your partner here, this does not mean you cannot invite your partner if you are an undergraduate student and not reading the nursing education and all that. No. You can invite your partner here, but it will only be through the spousal open work permit. It will be through visit visa. So you can invite your partner through the visit visa status or visit visa route for them to enter Canada. Please, you get it? So not necessarily using the spousal open work permit if you don't meet the eligibility. You can do visit visa for them to come and pay your visit. Because let's say you're undergrad, right? But you have a wife, and like you are offering a degree program which is not eligible for the the spousal work permit thing. You can't say you can spend your entire 4 years here in Canada without paying a visit to your children or without paying a visit to your husband. You can either go back to home country to pay a visit to them, or you can invite them to come and pay you a visit. But they can come here without working. Because the visit visa, you can't work with it unless you get the LMI, as already mentioned. But they can come here and pay you a visit to also see how beautiful Canada is. You have the legal right to do that. So, having said this, I would like to end my convo here. Let's take note that I'm not an international immigration lawyer. I'm not approved by RRCC to be advising people or to be a consultant when it comes to Canada immigration. No, I'm only sharing this information because it is available for the general public, and I got this information from RRCC's official website. So please, let's take advantage of this release coming from RRCC. If you're not following me on TikTok, please follow me on TikTok so that you can get educational videos like this. If you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I do post educational videos like this that will benefit you and I. Thank you. Bye.